no more saying cuss words, guys. It's inappropriate and violent. If you say a cuss word, then you're like going to jail. And you're like, when you go to jail, if you say a cuss word and you go to jail, and when you go to jail you say the cuss word, then you're only gonna eat broccoli and other vegetables for your whole life. When you don't want to eat vegetables, sometimes people like eating sweets, but I eat the broccoli. I'm okay with eating broccoli, but I do not want to go to jail. You cannot go to jail, and saying cuss words is illegal. They're now going to make a law about that. It is illegal, it is inappropriate, and it is really violent. I better run my...
It is illegal, it is violent, and it is so inappropriate to say the cuss words. It's a Camden MacLaren. Actually, this is completely unrelated. I learned one day in my 30s, he's actually not saying it's a Mario. He's saying itsumi. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in Japanese, itsumi means super. So he's saying Super Mario, not it's a Mario. And Americans are just idiots. But also I'm an idiot, Camden MacLaren. Welcome, this is First Kick Seahawks, the show where we prepare you for the first kick of every play. By game day, this is a state of the channel update. How do you like the little background noise? Is it too loud? Is it too quiet? I don't know. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Take the volume and turn it down a little bit. I'm really eepy today. I'm like super eepy today. I have chronic fatigue syndrome, and fatigue syndrome is a thing that makes me eepy. That's how that works. When I get eepy, I get loopy. And we got the music on a loopy as well. Thank you for bearing with me. If you would like to support the channel, you can also buy me a coffee. That might wake me up a little bit. We have a description, a link to that in the description below. So today I'm going to be really quick. Thank you all for the support that you have been giving the channel. As you have noticed, if you have been here for a while, I am constantly picking at things. I'm not doing like sweeping changes. I find if I do sweeping changes, I overcorrect in ways that aren't always for the better. I like to get data, right? I'll make a change, I'll ingest some data, and then I will determine which is the correct direction for the channel. What makes the channel unique? What is something that can make the channel grow in ways that people like? Right? I'm not somebody who just follows a fad. Just because somebody does something doesn't mean that I'm going to then duplicate that. I try to make the channel something that is reflective of myself. If you might notice, I am transgender, and I always have intended for this channel to be something that shows allyship to minorities that aren't just necessarily LGBTQIA+. You can see that I have the inclusion flag behind me, right? That is the centerpiece. Other than the Seahawks flag, I have that to the side, right? The Seahawks flag is important. This is a Seahawks channel, but first and foremost, it is about inclusion. We want to make sure that on this channel, we are giving voices to people that are not always included in sports, specifically in NFL football, which is predominantly a black athletic sport where we have majority of these athletes are black and the majority of the people talking about it are white. Does not make any goddamn sense to me. So I often try to have as many minorities on this show talking about it as possible, not just minorities in the melanin sense, but also in the gender sense and the identity sense. So that has been something that I have been very proud about. Whenever I have a guest on the show, I try to go out of my way to have a show that is represented in the inclusion spectrum, because these are voices that they have strong opinions. They may have played football before they transitioned. They may have played football on a girls' team, right? They may have sons that played football, right? They may just fucking love football. They may write football for women's groups, right? I love having the our turf football girls on, right? We just had Lisa Johnson. She was on the show, part of our turf football. All those girls are great. Sonja Green, she's going to be on the show this next Wednesday representing the Detroit Lions again. She's going to be on this show for the 4th time, right? I love having a safe space for people who typically don't have safe spaces in the football world, right? This is something that I am proud about on the show. One thing that I've also always been proud about is the ability to talk loose. And that's what the state of the channel is a little bit about today. YouTube does not encourage that type of communication. Now you can see it on the Pat McAfee show. Those guys will slur it up. ESPN doesn't like it, but because they have the backing of networks like ESPN, they have a bunch of just dudes out there talking, right? Just a bunch of white dudes talking their ass off, and therefore they have the structures to have people go and find them, regardless of the YouTube algorithm. They don't have to worry about it. And this is what I'm trying to say, is in an effort to ensure that I am still reaching ears and voices of people who are not heard, I need to make a change to the channel. I want to continue to communicate the way that I normally communicate, but I need to make sure that I am communicating in a way that the YouTube algorithms are not going to censor me. And that is what I have found. Recently, once YouTube and Google specifically introduced AI, my impressions hit rock bottom, which was really surprising because the quality of the show rose. The frequency of my content rose, and my tagging and everything else improved. And I couldn't figure out what it was. But once I had a couple shows and I was testing, right, I would have a show with a lot of profanity. We're talking about profanity, right? Shows with lots of profanity, impressions would be 0. Shows with no profanity, impressions would go through the roof. And so my point with the state of the channel, the main point, is that I'm going to try to take the profanity and bring it down to a minimum as best as I can. I still will try to be as authentic as possible, but in order for the voices that want to be heard on this network, and also for the people that are trying to support the show, to ensure that they are getting their money's worth, and also to make sure that the support they are giving is having dividends given back, I want to make sure that they are not being censored. Because it's not just about me, it's about the people who want this to also succeed, right? So I'm making a change. There's not going to be nearly as much profanity, which is upsetting to me, but that's just how YouTube works. So that's the first change. Second change, of course, is I want to put a few more finishing touches on how things look. I, of course, changed a little bit of the color scheme earlier this year. We added the logo. I have updated the YouTube thumbnails. I'm going to start making them more custom for every single video. So look forward to that as I gradually improve those. Right now I'm just using a base. So I'll probably mess around with the text a little bit more. As I said, I'm not doing sweeping changes. I am going to do a change. I'm going to collect data. How do I feel about it? What do people like about it? and then I'm going to lean into what people like about it, and I'm going to take away things that people don't like about it. Right now, what people seem to like about it is they like the images that are relevant to it. They like the opening audio. People like the opening warning, right? So, and they like the YouTube MA. So even though, right, we're not going to have as much profanity, I'll probably still leave that because it still fits the theme of the show, right? It's humorous, right? We still want to keep the show somewhat entertaining, right? So I'll probably leave those in there because it's unique to the vibe of the show, so that won't go away. But I want to continue to keep the things that work for the show and take away the things that aren't working from the show, right? And build upon the healthy aspects. As far as improving the overall look and vibe of the show, I used to have a really nice camera. Now, I have this nice studio microphone. It's not designed for podcasting. I increased the gain. I'm going to mess around a little bit more with the gain. I have a podcasting microphone. I don't like it. I want to continue using this. Technically, I'm supposed to be like up in it. It's for music. And I tend to get a little bit away from it. I get animated and I'm all over the place, right? That's just something that I gradually get used to, right? I'll get better at it. But as far as the actual camera, I have a camera. When I have used it for streaming, it turns off. So I do this thing where I switch between screens. And when I have switched screens, it has caused errors with the camera. It works fine with Zoom. It works fine with doctor's appointments. But when I use it with my recording, it has flubbed. But I used to have a really nice Canon camera, which was made for photography and videography. It was like $1,000. It came with different lenses. I could install my own lenses, and I had different lenses. That shit was stolen. And so I want to eventually replace that camera. I also want to then go to my computer tower, which just has a much better processor than the laptop I'm using. Part of the reason why I haven't done it is I need to go into that computer, install OBS, reset absolutely everything, which means I need to either figure out if I can save the OBS settings from this laptop and transfer it, or I have to build everything from scratch, which I really don't want to. I don't want to, right? But the main thing is that camera going to give me the same result on that computer? Is the reason that camera is acting up because of processing problems? So if I have that camera on that computer tower, is the problem going to be solved? Or if I use that camera on that computer, is it going to be the same result because the camera does not like OBS? Therefore, I need to go get a new camera, which I can't afford. So what to expect, right? I am going to get ready for this Sanja Green guest appearance on Wednesday. Expect that to drop Thursday morning. Okay, we play the Lions next Monday. I'm going to spend this week getting my computer tower up to speed on OBS, as I just touched my laptop and it goes wibbly wobbly. I'm going to update OBS. I'm going to mess around with that camera. If that camera works, fantastico. It's sumi. Everything works. If it does not work, I'm going to have to, because I don't have an income because I'm disabled, right? I do this for fun. I have two options. I use Buy Me a Coffee. Buy Me a Coffee has, right now I'm using it to help me pay for service so I can keep my internet service running. And I've appreciated the aid, right? And in exchange for y'all helping me keep my internet running so that I can run the show and provide y'all with service, with this type of entertainment, I have been making the show just look better, right? And I've been putting in extra work for that. It feels like a win-win, right? And I've been trying to cater the show a little bit more towards you. If my camera does not work, I can add another field into Buy Me a Coffee, specifically the Get a Better Camera Fund. I keep using the laptop until one day over the rainbow, I get a better camera. Who knows what that is? And then I hook that up to my computer tower, everything's gravy. Or people have been telling me I need to do better, Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. I didn't want to do Buy Me a Coffee for the longest time. Dan Viens of the Seahawks Forever podcast talked me into it. But other people, not podcasters, have said I would really prefer you to have just done Patreon. So maybe I'll do a Patreon instead for the camera so that I can get better hardware so we have a better camera. I already have the microphone. There is an XLR port on my hub for the camera. Everything would work together. Feeds into my computer tower, which has more USB ports for the gaming aspect on the other side of the channel, which is currently turned off so I can focus on football. That's the idea, right? Right now I want to make sure I get this part of the channel working properly, and then we'll get to the rest later. Okay, so that's what's going on as far as the hardware aspect of the show. What to expect after Monday Night Football with the Lions, right? We play the Giants after the Lions. New York has a lot of fans. They have a lot of shows. I don't know any New York Giants fans. Surprisingly. I do know people in New York. They just don't like football. I know gay people in New York. They don't like football. I could reach out to some random ass show. I don't feel like doing that. If you have a recommendation of somebody who's a New York Giants fan and podcaster who fits the theme of the show, I would like a recommendation, and I'll reach out to them and we'll see. But we probably won't have a guest that I reach out to for the New York Giants show. The week after, we play the 49ers. That week, we have a guest appearance I haven't fully scheduled, but they're in line. We have Steph Sanchez from the 49K pod, and then also the co-host of the JSN 49ers show. She seems great. I'm excited to talk to her. Hopefully this becomes a reoccurring thing where we talk to her twice a year. Hopefully not 3 times a year because of the playoffs, right? We don't want the 49ers in the playoffs, but she seems delightful. And I'm excited to see if we can get her scheduled properly. We had talked a couple weeks before, and she seemed very interested in coming on the show, and so I would like to see if we can get this thing done, right? You never know because schedules are schedules. We had the Broncos fan that was lined up, and then it turns out the gig that he thought was for one day turned out to be the day before. So that plan just fell through. That's what life is. So that's just what we have for the next few weeks planned. And this is kind of what's going on with the channel right now and then moving forward. If there are any suggestions of what you would like to see from the channel, there's no guarantee that it's going to happen. But I would like to hear some feedback, right? Especially since, we're still in September. The channel is still in a position of growth, right? There's always room to improve. And as I established throughout this update, I do a little nitpick. I'll make a slight change. I'll see how it works. I might make another change. I might pull back on something. We will see, right? Thank you all for being here. Please like the video because that helps with the analytics. Please subscribe to the channel. We're trying to reach 300 subscribers by the end of the year. Go Seahawks. I will catch you guys around.